You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sean Sebastian, alongside
Keith Cheatham. What's going on?
I know this is just really weird, but we also have our other normal new host,
I'm
Brandon
here, guys.
Davidson.
I'm here, but I'm a little indisposed. He's
Yes.
it's a little tough for me to get by this week.
We bought him a Red Ryder BB gun, and
Yeah.
you see what
That's
happens.
what happens. Yeah, I can't help it.
Well,
It's like
stuff
I get a
happens,
little
like
carried
you-
away.
You said in your text message, stuff happens.
Yeah, stuff happens.
Brandon's
So,
a little
Wait,
handicapped
a
today.
great quote from Forrest Gump there, if anybody's seen that movie.
Oh, yeah? Is that where it comes from?
No, I think our wide cam looks a little foggy. Keith, did you take
Uh-oh.
this out somewhere?
Oh,
Did you-
man.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I think
Somebody needs to get up and wipe that.
wipe that
Wipe
fog
it.
off. Yeah.
Wipe out the fog.
Just like it's probably getting hot. It's from this room
It's
temperature.
steaming up in here.
Probably the
Yeah.
temperature
No,
changed from
I,
my house to this room.
Probably. No, I did suffer a little work-related injury this past week. So,
It was work
Work-related, yeah.
well,
Right.
so I'm gonna
he
probably.
partied too hard in Boston.
Hey, I'm glad you brought that up because Deborah
Deborah.
definitely had something
Don't
to
say
do with
her name
ills.
with that low amount of It's Deborah. You have to
Yeah.
add enough disdain in there.
That's
Deb.
true.
What if it's Deb?
Debbie.
Deb, I
Go by
would.
Deb.
Debbie. Hey, Debbie.
She's not even worth the full title of her name.
What's going on, Deb?
Yeah,
Deb.
our Airbnb host just
Debbie do?
first made us sick with all of our sinus
Debbie
issues.
Dum Dum?
Yep.
And then I had to get an eye injury at work. It's just been a terrible week. I'm telling
Brandon
you.
he's struggling. He's
I am
struggling.
struggling. So for most of this show, I must admit, I'm gonna hand it to you two, and I'm gonna try to just punch and direct over here for
We
most
can-
of the
we
show.
can probably handle it.
I
think you
think we
can.
can handle it.
I think so. Sean's already out of it. he's down there
He
looking
said-
out of it.
He said he's done with your crap.
Done with this shit.
You know,
But
That
no,
was Sling Blade, by the way.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Give me some of them.
So we do have a great show for you. We promised that we're going to deliver. We had our week off last week in Boston. Had a
All week.
fantastic time, except for, of course, she who shall not be named, Deb.
Deb.
She
Yeah,
basically
we
just
already
would not
named her.
turn on the AC at
There was-
all
she
the
was-
entire week we were there.
Feel
There was
the
a
same
lot of
way right
issues.
now.
It was
we
so.
had
awful.
this was our bedroom 24/7.
Yeah, what it feels
I-
like in this room.
I couldn't
Yeah.
have survived.
It was rough.
I really couldn't.
was
This really
rough.
is the temperature of this room is what it
What
yeah,
was
it-
like all the time.
It's true.
It was
I couldn't
awful.
do it.
I don't know. I'm actually being, I find it easier directing with one eye.
You can, it's like
Well,
those
that's good.
it's
You
like
can
those
focus that one
it's
eye
those
on.
like horse blinders. You
punching.
just focus.
Yes.
We need to buy some of those for Brandon. We just
But we did promise we've got a great show for you. We got Spider-Man Far From Home review coming up.
Yes.
Our multimedia unique weekly segment is this week.
yes.
Lion King released and is the 6th rotten live-action Disney film to release
Yes.
Called it.
on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes.
Called it. We all
Yeah.
did.
So we were all not looking forward to this. And I must say,
I've heard that it is beautiful and gorgeous, but has no soul.
No substance.
It says
No
no
soul.
substance. So with that being said, our multimedia segment is going to focus on that.
On that.
Right.
And talk about, is there any hope left
Hope.
for these live-action Disney
I'm about to
films
say,
that remain?
we mentioned Boston. I think we should at least give a shout out to Neil and Megan, who are now
Yes,
married.
that was the whole reason we were there.
Yeah, we were there all week. They had a beautiful wedding. So congratulations again to both of you.
Yes.
I hope you're enjoying the
Right now, they're
honeymoon.
on a honeymoon in Switzerland.
Switzerland and the Alps.
the land of the Swits.
I think they're going to
Earth.
Austria too, and
Yeah, I mean,
maybe some other places along the way. I don't know.
Mm.
they've
I wish I
got it
could have that.
going.
I don't really want to honeymoon.
All I
That's
know
what
is
vacation
whatever
there.
hills they're on, they're alive.
I love the movie references.
Neil's probably going, doe, a deer,
A female deer.
Yeah.
Drop of golden sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
the
keep
only
it going.
Drop of golden something.
Drop of golden sun.
Drop of golden love this weekend.
But no, we do have a great show planned for everybody out there. So please stick around. Like I said, I'll be in and out of commission.
And we got to get,
the whole
and,
show.
you know, we've been off a week. We got to get caught up on some reviews. So coming up, we got Spider-Man in the coming weeks. I mean, we even went and saw yesterday while in Boston, which
Yes,
was
it was a
terrific.
fantastic
We
movie.
don't have an official review of that, but I do
was a
have to
great
say
movie.
I recommend it. We don't have an official review, but I still give it 3.5 out of
I
4
would say,
stars.
yeah, 3.5.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was
Danny Boyle's latest. I actually thought it was
Danny
fantastic.
Boyle rarely disappoints. This one kind of flew more under the radar than some of his past movies, but it
Yeah.
was still it lived up to his name, I think. And
The
it was
premise being that everybody forgets who the Beatles were.
and
this
one
one
guy takes
trying to
advantage
make it
of
artist,
that,
yeah.
and he plays their songs and kind of gets. I don't. It's much more than that though. It's funny because even if you're not a fan of the Beatles, you will still like the movie.
Oh,
It's a
good.
And I will say,
It is. It has a nice. It's kind of like got a little bit of a rom-com thing going, but
Yeah.
it's good. It's really good. Yeah.
by far one of the best performances I've seen from Lily James
Yes.
in any movie.
Yeah.
One of the best.
She
And
was
a shout out
awesome.
to the lovely neighbors who gave me this beautiful eye patch.
Yes.
This was not doctor oriented, but they
We-
they
he
added
has-
It's not
my
homemade
decor.
either. It came
No.
that way.
Yeah, he has
So-
his cotton eye patch the doctor gave him, but we're like, that's boring.
Yeah,
what
no.
can we do to
who
spruce
wants
this
to
up?
see that? That's
Yeah.
that's not actually. It
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
blocks out more light this way.
Yeah, so
Looks a lot better. All right,
right.
like you were saying, Keith. Reviews to get to.
Yes, I
with,
think
with
we
all
should.
this, yeah, let's go ahead and dive into Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Here it is.
Marvel has had one heck of a ride in the last decade. We saw the Infinity Saga wrap, and though we know there will be a future for the MCU, we don't quite know exactly what it may entail. While Marvel continues to keep Phase 4 a secret, it has given us the final film in Phase 3, an epilogue of sorts to the Infinity Saga, and a tease for what is yet to come. This movie is Spider-Man: Far From Home. Once again directed by John Watts, returning after helming the critically acclaimed Spider-Man: Homecoming, Far From Home must serve two purposes. It serves, as stated, the purpose of being an epilogue to Avengers Endgame, tying off a few loose threads and resetting the board for Phase 4 and Marvel's future. Just as important, if not more so, it also serves as the sequel to Homecoming. In short, it needed to also be a solid solo Spider-Man film. To live in the MCU yet set itself apart is something many of Marvel's solo films failed at early on. But in recent years, Marvel seems to have cracked the code, giving us The Winter Soldier, Civil War, Black Panther, and Thor Ragnarok. All movies that furthered their respective characters while building the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe. While Far From Home proves to have a much smaller scope than these films, it still manages to walk that fine line. Even better than Homecoming, which I felt focused too much on being a part of the larger MCU and forgot to truly let Spider-Man shine. Far From Home does not have this problem. Immediately picking up after the events of Endgame, the world is now dealing with the loss of some of its greatest heroes, and with the fallout created from all of those who had been missing for 5 years, now having reappeared. An event the MCU has jovially christened the Blip, an anti-snap if you will. Watts, in his second outing, builds upon the humor and lightheartedness of Homecoming, maybe even a little too much, but it never quite goes too far, which is part of the brilliance of Far From Home. It lends gravitas to the events that transpired before it, but doesn't dwell on them. The time for grieving was Endgame. Far From Home begins the healing process, for fans and the characters in the MCU. Peter, again played by Tom Holland, must find his place in the world after having been gone for 5 years due to the snap. And having lost his greatest mentor, the world struggles to move on, as does he. Spider-Man, learning to find his place and deal with his responsibilities as a superhero, has always been the character's greatest themes. Now with the aftermath of the Infinity War, these themes are more prevalent and able to be explored in a new and unique way. When Peter's class goes on a summer trip to Europe, Peter's vacation is soon hijacked by Nick Fury, reprised by Samuel L. Jackson, who, when unable to obtain help from the other Avengers, all having gone separate ways after Endgame, has come to enlist Peter to help save the world from an extinction-level threat. Mysterious elementals that have the power to destroy the planet. Already recruited by Fury is Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. Beck claims to have come from an alternate dimension, one where the elementals have already destroyed Earth. And thanks to Thanos' use of the Infinity Stones, a tear in realities created holes that allowed Beck to travel to our dimension. Anyone who's a fan of Spider-Man, however, should be well familiar with the character Mysterio. And when it turns out he and the elementals aren't quite what they appear to be, Spider-Man must learn to accept himself as he is, and overcome his doubts to truly be Spider-Man. Far From Home might not be the best Spider-Man film out there, but in terms of delivering a Spider-Man story that feels like it could have been ripped straight from the comics, it soars above the others. Marvel finally lets Spider-Man be free to be Spider-Man, and it makes all the difference between this film and Homecoming. While Homecoming had a brilliant plot set up with its villain, Michael Keaton's Vulture, this film utilizes its villain just as well, if not better, as thanks to the machinations of Mysterio, we get to see Spider-Man grow as a character, but also face challenges he's never before seen, even setting him up for one of the greatest challenges never before done on film in the end credits scene. Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio is one of the best adaptations of a Spider-Man villain since Sam Raimi's first 2 films. The MCU has really nailed it with its villains lately, and while Mysterio just seems like a run-of-the-mill baddie on the surface, the way they connect him to the overall history of the MCU, much as they did with Vulture, and how they utilize his abilities makes for a subtle but brilliant and unique antagonist. The special effects are a little bloated and not quite as polished as Infinity War and Endgame, but the scenes with Mysterio performing illusions on the wall crawler are top-notch, with one specific fight scene proving why Mysterio is a perfect character to show off on screen. Yes, this film is lighter in tone than what came before it, but truthfully it needed to be, and let's face it, Spider-Man has always come with a little camp. It's part of the character's charm. A few story beats in the film could have been tighter, a little more seriousness could have created a bigger emotional impact in a few cases, but the movie still accomplished what it set out to do, while being a ton of fun along the way. As a longtime fan of the Spider-Man comics, I will say Far From Home definitely nailed the feel of the classic Silver Age Spider-Man, while making it more modern, and for that alone, I think highly of it. I give Spider-Man Far From Home 3 out of 4 stars. Well, there you go. Spider-Man Far From Home review, a 3 out of 4 stars. A good movie, a solid follow-up.
Yes, it was.
I enjoyed it. How do you star rating?
I would agree with your star rating. I was actually kind of going 3.5, but after I thought about it and just compared it to some of the other things I've seen come from Marvel, I'm kind of where you are on 3. It was better than Homecoming.
It was better than Homecoming by far.
It was a very enjoyable movie. The Spider-Man, I thought Tom Holland finally became Spider-Man. In Homecoming, I didn't feel like he was given the time as Spider-Man that he should have been given.
They focused too much on him being under Iron Man's tutelage in Homecoming.
Yeah.
There was too much focus on him being like this young kid who's got to learn the ropes. And I get that.
Yeah.
That's part of Spider-Man in the comics started out as a kid. I get it, but Homecoming focused way too much on putting it inside the MCU. They were excited that they finally had Spider-Man.
Yep.
They tried to tie it together with all the other previous movies a lot. It was just, I felt like not a Spider-Man movie. It was a Marvel movie. It definitely took place in that world.
Yep.
But they didn't really give Spider-Man the due I felt he should have. And I've really felt like Far From Home, we finally got to see Spider-Man in action. I mean, there's so much, so many of the aerial fights, a lot of the things he did with his webs and stuff. I was like, I'm finally seeing Spider-Man be Spider-Man.
Well, it also gave a good, I don't know if it's the finale of the Avengers saga, but it did give kind of a good icing on the cake after Endgame. I felt like it wrapped up a good portion of him and Tony's relationship and kind of brought you to those emotional moments where he is, finally presented with some things that Tony left behind for him. I don't want to, spoil everything for people, but that I appreciated that because I didn't want it to just be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I wanted it to definitely be or live up to the hype of being this kind of end to
an epilogue.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I like that they handled it. I mean, they kind of addressed the issue with people being missing for 5 years. I mean, you even see Aunt May running this shelter for people who are displaced, people that came back 5 years later.
And what are they calling them again?
Well, they called the event
the vanished
blip.
Or the blip.
Yeah, the blip is the event. I guess
the people left behind, or that they were the vanished, or something
like that.
I don't know what they were called.
But I thought that was cool because it's it would make sense. If you 5 years later, somebody's probably living in if you had an apartment 5 years ago, they probably rented that apartment out already. So
they do a good job at the beginning of the film. Filling in that gap and answering that question.
He was like, I came back and my wife was remarried.
Yeah.
I was like,
well, even some of the kids were like, I came back and my younger brother is now older than me.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of it's funny.
Yeah.
But it also answers the questions that people may have, and it does it in a very creative way.
You have to deal with this.
Yes.
And that would be insane.
Yeah.
That's an insane thing to have to deal with. Knowing that you've been gone 5 years and the world moved on without you.
Right. Yeah.
Well, by far, I thought the best part was the opening with the
kids on the camera. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, when the Marvel logo pops up and you got Whitney Houston blaring,
Yeah.
and then they have this
do a
terrible
little,
high school cheesy made iMovie.
It did an
looks so
ode to the
good.
fallen heroes,
Yeah.
but it fit the high school thing perfectly.
did.
I was
It
like,
was
this
perfect.
is something a high schooler would do and think, this is great. This is so emotional.
Well, and it was funny because it wasn't until I watched some scenes from Homecoming
Yeah.
that I realized that those two kids
They're
and
the
that
same.
little they're the
Same
same
kids.
and they're
Yeah.
also doing that little high school news thing, which
Yeah.
is so
Yep.
perfect. And it's like you see that in there, and it's like I just thought it was a perfect touch to start.
Yeah.
Like you said in your review about how Spider-Man itself is a lot more whimsical. It's a little bit more.
There's always been a little bit of camp. with
Yeah,
Spider-Man,
exactly.
yes.
So it made sense that they took that angle approach right off
It was
the bat.
like I said in the review,
but
it was
still
nice.
to approach the the serious topic.
Like I said in the review, this felt like, the time to like kind of really grieve and mourn was in game, and this was a movie to kind of like, we have a little bit of that, but now it's time to move on, and and go into bigger and greater things, and that's what really what this set up was. It put Spider-Man in a position to be his own hero, like to be, he doesn't have to rely on Tony, he doesn't have to rely on anybody else. He can be Spider-Man, and it makes him stronger. And then sets it up for the future of the MCU, where now he's going to have to deal with what he has to deal with in the end credit scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, there's the other one that I think is probably a tease for a larger event to come in the MCU, which nobody knows. Nobody knows what's coming up next.
Yep.
We have ideas. We do know certain movies are in production, but Marvel still, even though they are in production, Marvel won't admit to it because they're keeping everything secret for Comic-Con, which is going on currently. So it will be interesting when they do finally announce everything to see what they have planned.
Yeah. Speaking of Comic-Con, before we started the show, we were watching some of the new trailers and stuff that are out. So if you don't follow Comic-Con or really get into that, if anything, there's a bunch of great new movie trailers and stuff that are being released. So get on YouTube and check that out and watch the new It trailer. And I was pretty excited to see the Top Gun Maverick trailer.
Yes,
so there's a lot of the movies that we're going to be talking about in the next year or so. We just got to see some trailers for.
They've released pictures from Witcher, which isn't a movie.
The Witcher show.
And they got a trailer for Jay and Silent Bob, which is the first time he's worked on a movie like that in years. So that's all interesting. 3 out of 4.
I agree.
How do you feel, Brandon?
I would say 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4.
I actually was kind of on the verge of doing 2.5.
Oh,
wow! Yeah. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't too impressed.
Oh wow!
I mean, just after Avengers Endgame, with
everything falls short after that bar was set.
You're right, and
it's just for me to be Spider-Man. Like it really reminded me of like some of like I said, the Silver Age comics, and like that's what I loved about it.
Yeah,
Mysterio was perfect.
This was much better than Homecoming.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Much better than Homecoming.
Yes.
I still thought there were a couple times where I thought
I thought you gave Homecoming 3, didn't you?
Probably I did, and I take that back. So it's like I don't know. To me, I've probably given a ton of Marvel movies 3 out of 3, and it's like, or 3 out of 4, but it's like it's a testament to them and how they get better each time.
They're consistent,
right?
Yeah,
and they're able to keep that track record. But I will say, for Far From Home, there were just a couple times in terms of editing I thought it was a little disjointed. I thought the pacing was a little off, and so I just didn't think it kept my attention. Or I don't know, it was a little jumpy in parts where I didn't think it was as smooth. That was the only thing I would not.
I have to ask though, which movie do you like better, Captain Marvel or this? Because you gave Captain Marvel 3, and I thought this was much better than Captain Marvel.
Then I would give Captain Marvel 2, and I'd give this 2.5.
All of our reviews are changing now. Brandon's star rating has changed on everything. I think it's because of your eye.
Yeah, it's tainted.
He can see clearer now.
Yes,
he lost an eye. Now he can see better.
Yes, I can see crap for what it really is.
All right. So I think we're ready to move on to our headlines.
Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, we have a new 007 in town, guys. How are we feeling about that?
Maybe not, though.
No, she is the new 007. She's just not the new James Bond.
She's not the new James Bond.
Which I thought was very misleading. There have been a lot of headlines this week. Lashana Lynch, first African-American female 007.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much what all the headlines have stated is new 007 is now a woman and black.
And she's black.
I mean, it's been a huge deal. They're making it a huge deal. But when you look further into it, she is going to be an agent with the codename 007, but Daniel Craig is still James Bond in this new movie, and he's been retired,
right?
And they're trying to bring him back in. So he's Bond, and she's a new agent with the code name 007. So it's kind of a little bit misleading.
Well, you had also mentioned before the show too that this isn't the first time
he's lost
his designation 007.
Yeah, and I forget which movies. I think there's 2 other movies where he's lost it.
Yeah, he's always in trouble. I
Yeah.
mean, he's James Bond. He's always in trouble. He doesn't play by the rules.
That's right. So
and he's probably not going to play by the rules
He's
in
not,
this. According to
ever.
most of the articles that I've read, he's still going to be the same womanizing 007,
Well,
action
he's
packed.
Bond. How
he's
could you
Bond,
not?
Exactly. So I don't feel like I'm like you. I feel like the headlines are kind of trying to hype this up as a PC movement kind of thing, and the diversity thing, and all this stuff. And I don't feel like I think we're going to get to see the movie, and you're going to realize, wow, she really didn't have the impact that we were led to believe that she's going to have, possibly. Because I don't even feel like...
I'm wondering if maybe she's going to, instead of having like the stereotypical Bond girl, that maybe she'll kind of fill in that role, and she'll be like tagging along with Daniel Craig throughout the movie. But then I think they're going to set her up as like she's supposed to be the new like badass like spy or whatever, and that she's supposed to be the best of the best. But then when she tags on with Bond, like he
shows her a thing or two,
teaches her a thing or two,
schools her.
And I don't know. Some people are wondering if this is going to lead to like kind of like a spin, like where she'll take over from here on. I don't know about that. I do think it's them testing the waters. And I mean, I personally, 007 is just a title. It's a designation. I don't mind. Like anybody can have the title.
Anybody can have that title, but not anybody can have the title of James Bond.
That's true. So I don't know. I mean, because there's a lot of people wanting. Well, the whole diverse thing has just been people want. I mean, even Marvel has jumped on the diverse train where they're like, movies going forward will have, and that's fine. I mean, but pick characters that are already diverse, like Black Panther. You don't have to change the history of characters.
Yeah. And then
just pick.
I mean, even the passing of the shield from Captain America doesn't in
but
the
that
comics.
In the comics, yeah.
I thought it went to. Oh, it did go to Falcon. I thought it went
gone
to Bucky.
both. Bucky's had it first, but by far, I think the best Captain America that hasn't been Steve Rogers was Sam.
Okay.
So, I mean,
that wasn't something for diversity's sake.
No, I felt like I did like that. I've always preferred Sam's Captain America over the Winter Soldier's Captain America.
I mean, with Disney, all but coming out directly and saying that we cast a black Ariel because we want to do something diverse. Because I mean, they pretty much said that this was something that was on their radar, that yes, when we were casting for this character, we wanted to try to shake things up and make it not the same as the original movie, which you can change the color of her skin and still make it a carbon copy of the animated. That's what they did with Aladdin, and that's what they've done with Lion King and all these different
carbon
They're
copies,
just making these copies, but I don't really have a problem with it unless they're pretty much coming out and saying, well, the only reason we did it is because she's black, not because she's talented.
If you're hiring the best actor for a job, that's fine.
Yes.
And I don't mind diversity, but if it's at this point, it's just stunt casting. If you're doing it just for the sake of diversity, it's like, I mean, is that good? Is that going to make a better film? I mean, if the actor or actress is superb, then yes, that's fine. But just like people have wanted Idris Elba for the next 007.
And he would be a good choice.
And I think Idris Elba could knock it out of the park. I do think it's funny that, like I said, I think they were testing the waters, but they went the full Monty and were like, okay, well, we're going to put a 007 in this film that's black and a woman and see how people respond. And, of course, they definitely got the responses they were intending with all the headlines, like I said, but for a little bit misleading.
Yes.
But overall, it's like, I mean, at the end of the day, when you read it, it's like, who cares? Okay, it's a 007 that's a woman and black, but it's not James Bond. So when you really read the article, it's like it's not as big as they were trying to make it to be. It's like, oh, this revolutionary thing in the franchise. It's like, it's really not.
Yeah, they've done this before. I mean, they did it with you mentioned Captain Marvel in your star review earlier on that. But I mean, even with Captain Marvel, she was touted as this huge, like, feminist, I am woman, hear me roar character. And in Endgame, she did nothing. And then even in her own movie, she didn't live up to the expectations that I felt that headlines gave us. So I feel like this is something that's been done before, and that's why these articles or these headlines that we're seeing, I don't really feel like I think we should take them with a grain of salt.
I always do, and I agree. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, they're doing it because they think, I don't know, they garner them some type of publicity and money. And, well, I mean, you get more clicks, you get more people viewing it. But, I mean, I am looking forward to the next Bond film, and I am a Bond fan, so I will continue to see what they do. But like I said, as long as they continue to pick the best people for the part and they're not just doing, casting whoever just because they feel it fulfills some checklist, then I'm fine with it.
Okay. Well, while we're talking about the Bond, and we kind of mentioned a lot of Marvel movies. I know it's not one of our main headlines, but what about this Endgame thing only being $7 million from beating Avatar? That's pretty awesome. I think it's going to make it just quickly.
It's going to happen.
You think it'll happen?
Yeah.
I think they're going to leave it in theaters until it happens.
Well, that or look, it's ridiculous to not assume that they're going to re-release it at some point down the road and that they won't make $7 million. I mean, they could re-release
$7 million
is
that's a bad weekend for a B movie.
Yes.
I mean, that's like,
I was just
come
saying,
on, it's got to do it. Leave it in theaters 2 more weeks, and it's going to have $7 million.
And that's why I think I'm at this point. I'm willing to say that I guarantee you, Avatar will be beaten by Avengers Endgame and worthy of that title. I absolutely believe that, no doubt.
Well, Brandon believes it.
He believes it, and he has the all-seeing eye.
I was going to say,
so
I know.
He knows.
All right.
Nick Fury over here.
Yes. We need a Sharpie and just mark all of that other stuff out. It's just black.
Yeah, just get rid of my.
Well, it could be Solid Snake.
Get rid of my patch.
Well, Snakes is on the other eye.
Oh, that's true. He could be Snake Plissken though.
Yeah.
No.
From Escape from New York.
And it's
LA.
on the other. It's on the other eye too.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Oh no! I think they do. He flips it. I don't know. I can't remember. But yeah.
All right. So what are we moving on to now? Our unique weekly segment.
I think so.
Already?
Already. I know.
We're
it's
going
hot
through
in this
fast.
room.
It's
but
hot.
You know what?
It is.
We're getting out of here early.
Buckets of sweat.
Let's get to the multimedia segment.
Yes.
Multimedia.
Multimedia.
Haven't you heard? All right. I love that opening. You did so well with that. So this week we are doing multimedia as the unique weekly segment, and the question is, right along with what we've been talking about so far already, it is Disney's 6th rotten live-action release of The Lion King. Is there any hope for any more upcoming films?
No.
Honestly,
okay.
I think there was only one that I thought of.
Yeah,
only one.
I think Mulan looks interesting.
Yeah.
When I see the trailer for it, but they stated flat out that they weren't trying to remake the 90s movie, that they're trying to tell a kind of a more historic, accurate version of Mulan, which there's not gonna be Mushu the dragon. There's not gonna be the songs. They said it's gonna be like
a movie, not a musical.
Yeah, a story of Mulan infiltrating
Crouching
the military.
Tiger, Hidden Dragon, basically.
Wow. Yeah,
and I think that could be really good. And I hope it does well, because to me that has been the problem.
Well, it was nominated for an Oscar.
What?
Crouching Tiger.
Yeah,
that one, Mulan. No, it wasn't.
No. But yeah, I mean, I think the problem with all of their live action adaptations so far has been they've just been the ones that, and that's the weird thing, is that when you look at the ones that weren't rotten, they were the ones that didn't do like Cinderella, The Jungle Book,
Beauty and the Beast wasn't rotten. Beauty and the Beast got,
and that was more of a but I mean, that one was, you kind of expected Beauty and the Beast to be more like, if they didn't have the songs and stuff in Beauty and the Beast, you'd be disappointed. But the rest of them, it's like, you don't need to be an exact carbon copy. And I think that's part of the problem. Aladdin was a carbon copy of the 90s, but it didn't even have as much heart.
No.
That's the weird thing. It was like an hour longer than the cartoon and was worse. It's like, how could you make a movie that's longer and have less depth?
It created no ties to the characters or emotional moments or any. I mean, there was nothing there that the cartoon had. I like the way you said it when we started the show. It had no soul.
It didn't.
And that was all of these movies are lacking that soul. And I don't know why that is. Is it just because these movies are kind of a cash grab, or are they?
I think you have to go back to when these movies were made, and it's like when you think about the heart that went into making them and the feat that it took for them to accomplish even the animation at the time.
How many feet did it take?
Well, lots.
Lots of feet.
A lot more feet than my eyes.
Happy feet.
So it's like, the thing is I do believe that when you had this team of people at Disney that were so focused on creating something special and spectacular, and each movie back in the early 90s, kind of during this renaissance, where you had them taking on new challenges of what was harder than what they had already created before.
Yep.
And so they had this element of, well, how do we challenge ourselves, in terms of animation style, but then also how do we add a story that's behind it that actually gets people to want to watch
each one of them is, it's not entirely original, but each one of them is an original work.
Yeah.
And now they're just remaking original works, so that originality and the original soul and heart and love that went into producing that product is not there. It's just,
I agree.
like you said, a carbon copy.
And it's because I think they're so focused on. It's weird because it's like they don't want to tarnish like how special those were, but at the same time, making it exactly like that isn't showing any respect to it. I mean, you're just anybody can take something and just do it beat for beat, and I think that's part of why it's so soulless, because you've seen this before, and it feels like no passion went into it because you're just doing what was already done before. In order to have that passion, you have to be creative and create new things. And it's like The Lion King looks gorgeous. It really does. I mean, those lions look real. Everything looks real. But if you don't have that same feeling, the same emotional connection from the animated Lion King, it's not worth it. I mean, that's what made Lion King so good. That's what made all of those classic Disney movies so good, was that they had great moral themes and actual connections that you could relate to the characters, whether you were a child or an adult. I mean, they really were family films because they reached all ages. And this, it's like, yeah, kids will love it because it's a bunch of talking animals, but is it going to keep the people that grew up watching them entertained? No.
Yeah. Well, one thing to say about that, though, is when you're a kid, you don't really see the moral side of a film when you're watching The Lion King as a child.
You don't see all the themes.
But I don't think, even as an adult, like watching Aladdin, I can remember now as an adult a lot of the lessons to be learned from that original film.
Yeah.
But it seemed like even the remake was just a mishmash of themes and morals that I don't feel like they worked.
Feminism.
Yeah, they
girl power.
Yeah, and girl power, which I didn't even think that sank in as much as they should have wanted it to. They were trying to make it sink in it, and I was just like, the only thing this is doing is making me sink into my chair. I mean, it wasn't even there, but it's just kind of this just like smorgasbord of morals and values and lessons to be learned, and they don't fit together.
No.
And I didn't feel like that's one of the reasons that I didn't connect with it even as an adult. And like you said, kids would see this and be like, oh, yeah, look at Aladdin. He's doing parkour and all this stuff. And I'm just like, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Even the genie was just terrible.
Well, even
he fell so short.
And the music, like,
there's not effort put into I just don't understand.
If you're going to do it and you're going to recreate the songs, like, yeah, I understand that, like, the actors in the live action, like, a lot of times the animated movies had, like, they would have the voice actors and then they would have actual singers do the song work because they knew the actors couldn't. And I know it's harder to do in live action, but you got to play to the actor's strengths or something. You can't just, I don't know, they just fell flat, and they weren't. Even Will Smith, like, had times where you thought he was going to do really well, and then he would kind of, like, flip over and try to imitate Robin Williams, and it was no good. It's like, just be yourself, do your own thing. Like, you're not going to be Robin Williams. You can't imitate that stuff. And it's the same thing with, I feel like, with Lion King. It's like, you're not going to, yes, they got James Earl Jones to come back because he's so iconic, but it's like, you can't recreate exactly what it was that made that so special. You have to do something unique to recreate something new that's special.
Yeah. I think all of these remakes are just, it's a quick way for them to make cash and cash in on the nostalgia and cash in on the passion that the fans have for the originals. But I'm also, at the same time, I'm not seeing anything. I would like a film company to, yes, make some things to make you some money, and then use that money to make something great.
Yeah.
But I'm not seeing anything great coming from Disney. I'm not seeing anything remotely original and just astounding.
That was one of the things I loved about going to see yesterday was almost every trailer before yesterday looked amazing because they were all
independent.
They were all indie films.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, it's like you forget when you go see all these huge blockbusters and all you see are blockbuster trailers. And you're just like, oh, it looks like the same old. But then, like, watching the trailers before yesterday, there were 4 or 5 movies I really want to see that I was like, man, I haven't seen. I didn't even know these were in the works because you don't get trailers like that going to see Lion King.
No,
and it's
I understand completely.
Good movies still being made, but these large production companies have no part of it because they want to make the big bucks. So they want Lion King. They want, Godzilla. They want the names that are
when you go to see those movies, those are the trailers you see is for their next cash grab that's coming out. But no, I agree. I miss seeing I wish I would have seen yesterday from hearing you all talk about it, and I miss the Magnolia pictures. Like, I miss all of those movies that they put out.
Paramount Vantage.
Yeah.
What
Fox Searchlight.
Yeah.
It's like all these, man.
Yeah.
I know. It was like mid to early 2000s.
Yeah.
Or even later
Yeah.
2000s where you had like this independent surge.
Oh, I loved it. Eternal
And it was
Sunshine.
like, Eternal
was
Sunshine.
mine.
Exactly. I mean, you just had so many films come
Dan
from
in Real Life. That's one of my all-time favorite movies.
and they still are. There's a lot of them though end up either making their chance at making it to straight to Prime Video or going to Netflix.
Yeah.
But like, Lars and the Real Girl.
Yes,
is a great movie.
that's
It's
a
fantastic
movie. Yes.
There's another one. Oh gosh, it was the weird. They started doing weird tricks like where they would add these new things in editing or in post. Like, had Keanu Reeves in it. Had that comic book.
A Scanner Darkly.
Scanner Darkly.
Yeah,
I mean,
with
you had
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
That was his
kind of comeback.
Yeah, it was one of his comeback moment. Yeah,
So
exactly.
I mean, you had all these films that kind of were they were new and interesting and different.
Yep.
And sometimes they were a little oddball, and you would think,
But where'd all that
no.
go? Where'd that creativity? Where'd that
It's
boldness
still out there. They're
to
just
make something new is gone? It's just like, let's just take something old and
it's still there.
revamp
It's
it.
just very small now. It's
Yeah.
like the big production companies kind of they beat it down because they want to make their money. But I mean, you still have some of these independent and art house production companies still out there, like A11,
or A24.
A24. That's what it is.
And Blumhouse. and-
Blumhouse, and that's like we could still get some of those movies, but you don't. It's like they don't advertise or talk about them because it's like, well, that's
Yep.
fine, but that's the little guy over there. We don't care about them. We
Yeah.
want our money. So yeah,
well,
definitely.
that's the thing. That's why they're always excited when they have something like a Get Out.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
An
or
independent
even
film that
Us,
makes
it's
it big,
independent
yeah.
and it's huge, and then they're like, oh, we need more of that.
Yeah.
And it's like every once in a
You
while they
could.
want those types of films that come out and that make a blip on the radar, and then all of a sudden they make it
Hardcore
huge.
Henry was amazing.
Yes,
That was an amazing movie.
I mean, that's not a movie for the kids at all.
no.
Upgrade.
But still,
Upgrade was
Upgrade
a
was a
fantastic
great movie.
film from
Yeah.
last year. All independent films.
Ex
Yep.
Machina was good. Yeah,
Yes.
that was a great
Yeah.
movie. I mean, it's funny because they're still out there, but they're definitely. It's like those were the types of movies that used to be blockbusters. Used to get big like movies like that were winning Oscars, and it's like we've moved away from that and gone into like this whole huge blockbuster thing. And it's like I wish we'd go back to like having these movies with
Well, I
like
think
smaller
a
scale
lot of
stories.
it has to do with money. I mean,
Well, of
you've
course
got
it
to
does.
understand when if you're Blumhouse and you're making a $6 or $8 million movie
Mhm.
and it's making $55 million in theaters, like that's a big
That's
profit.
big for them.
But it's not $1 billion like
Yeah.
like with Avengers films. And I'm not dogging Marvel because they're doing the big blockbusters right.
Yeah.
And they're honestly, every Marvel movie is different.
Yeah.
And even though they tie together in a way, they all have their own heart. And I appreciate that from a multi-million or
and it comes from the
billion-dollar
fact that
films.
because it is being made by Marvel themselves, they're passionate about
That's
it.
right,
Whereas
yeah.
other
Yeah.
people, look at DC, where Warner Brothers owns DC, and you don't have like the people that make the comics,
Yeah.
Involved, and it just. They started to. They got Jeff Johns, and they've got a few people advising them now. And
Yeah.
I mean, we see that it seems to have helped because now we got Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Shazam. But it's like if you're
I
not,
like the way you said that.
yeah, well,
Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Shazam.
Shazam! Shazam! But no, that's a good movie. But
It
it's like,
is.
yeah, if you're not passionate about the material, just like Star Wars. I mean, look at Rian Johnson.
Yeah.
It's like he was
He
more
was supposed
interested
to be
in
a fan of Star Wars, and I'm like, you destroyed Star
It's
Wars.
like
Worse
he was
than
more
George
interested.
Lucas did.
Yes, he was more. That's bad.
And
That's
you
bad.
didn't think that would be possible at
No,
all.
it's like you think the only one that can destroy it's
And
the
I think
creator.
as soon as that happened, George was like,
Yeah, I'm out of the water.
I
now.
bet George Lucas. I bet that's his favorite Star Wars movie.
Oh,
'cause he
yeah.
can sit there and be like, "Yeah, y'all
Yeah.
complained about me. Look what
y'all
look
were
what-
pissed about Jar Jar.
Now
They gave you
got-
that
now
Asian
got-
lady."
Yeah, you got things being milked on the beach, or whatever that stupid thing was.
Oh, but
Moof
when you look
milker.
at it, because like look at Solo. Ron Howard's a fan of Star Wars, and it
Yeah.
showed. It's like
Yeah.
we weren't real sure because Ron Howard's had kind of a sketchy
That
career
movie got
lately.
a bad rap, but that is a great
So
movie.
well, we've admitted it's like the
Yes.
side movies have been better than the
Have been
canon.
Rogue
Rogue
One
One
great
was
movie.
amazing, and I
Yes.
yeah, I mean the Mandarin looks like it's going to be good, and again,
Yeah.
it's because John Favreau is
Mandalorian.
the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you. Sorry, he's a huge fan. It's like I
Yeah.
think when you have when you have Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson. when you're a fan of the material and you want to do it justice, you're going to do a better job than somebody who's just saying, "Oh, if we make this, we'll make tons of money."
Yeah.
There's always a difference.
And there's a place for the blockbuster films.
Absolutely.
Like they have their place throughout the year, but I really
Hobbs and Shaw, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, you're
That's
looking
gonna be
forward
great.
to that. But, you know, movies like Chappaquiddick and some of these other smaller, those are the ones that get me excited about making a film.
Yeah,
And those are the ones that, to me, those are the movies that make a small independent film company like Red Moon get excited about something that we could possibly do in the future.
Yep.
And these big blockbusters are something that's like, you know, so far off the radar for someone like us, but to me, a movie like Us or Get Out or any of those movies like Lars and the Real Girl, that's, I mean, come on, give us $11 million, we can make that movie.
Easily.
I mean, I'm just saying those are the ones that get people passionate about film, and we don't see enough of those movies anymore. They're being traded in for the dollar, and that's very sad.
I think
you love
it's funny
film.
because I think it's kind of like, to go back to what Keith's point was with the blockbusters, or the people who love, you know, who are fans of the material, but also to your point too, Sean. I think it coincides with when you're not only a fan of the material or you have a passion for the story in and of itself and a great vision. It's like, you can give some. I mean, we forget that Lord of the Rings: Return of the King was made. Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, Two Towers, and Fellowship. The entire trilogy was $200 million.
Yeah.
Whereas
That was the
Spider-Man
cost of
3,
Spider-Man 3 was
came
$250.
out like 2 years later and was one movie and was $250 million in one film.
Granted,
and
those movies were made 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
That was a lot of money back then. $200 million.
Well, and
was
even Endgame,
one of the
being
biggest budgets.
$350 million.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
like, but
Well,
you have a ton of stars.
The large chunk of
Yeah.
Endgame's money went to the cast.
Right.
But
But
Robert
the thing
Downey
is
Jr.
still, it's like, at the end of the day, when you have a passion for the film itself,
Yeah.
when you have a great vision, yes, there are going to be flops when it comes down to having independent films that may not succeed. But every once in a while, and I would say not every once in a while, I would say it's easily 70-30. When you have a good film, it will find a way to shine out the darkness and be able to come through and give people a chance to see it for what it is and actually say, okay, yeah, this is a great film. And it's worth viewing.
And
I think it will
understandably,
show up.
like, Disney needs movies like Endgame to foot the bill for other stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like, use that money to make other stuff. Don't just, okay, we got billions of dollars. Let's go remake whatever Disney movie. And they're talking about doing Atlantis and Lilo and Stitch now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, good Lord. Like, they're going to end
That's
up
all they're
making their
doing now
tire.
is coming up with their list of what can we remake and snag more cash off of. And
Which I think that's the funny thing, though, is I'm like, at the end of the day, if you pay something $11 million for something and you get $200 million, you're making a bigger return than if you pay $300 million and you make $500.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you've just sunk in tons of marketing, tons of overseas, and a lot of these. That's what I hope the Rotten Tomato scores turn out to be within these live action films. They turn out to be a drop in the audience viewing. And, people were saying for weeks and months before Lion King release, saying this was the pinnacle film of the summer.
Yep.
This will probably be the biggest film of the year. And I think with the lukewarm reviews and people going to see it, it's going to be huge in about 2 to 3 weeks of it being out.
Yeah, it'll make money.
But it's going to make money, no doubt.
It's not going to be Endgame.
But I don't think it's going to be Endgame, and I don't think it's going to be. Yeah, people were comparing it to Endgame, saying it was going to be the biggest release of the year, and I'm like, no, there's no way.
I don't think it's going to be
Disney can produce will come out to be Endgame.
No,
even though
Spider-Man's almost hit $1 billion, so it's like I don't even know if Lion King. Well, it could, but
I think it'll reach $1 billion. I do think it'll hit $1 billion, but worldwide when you include everything.
Worldwide,
But I don't think it's going to have the staying power. I think you're going to see now Disney pivoting and transitioning into more of like a Mulan, where they're trying to find these stories that if they are going to make a remake, they know that people don't want to just sit there and see the same rehashed thing.
If they're going to do a live action movie, I just wish they would do Treasure Planet. Like that one would be
Yeah.
one.
Okay. Yeah.
That would be a live action Disney remake that I would
we've
go
talked
see.
about it multiple times. Why not take underrated,
Well, they're
movies
talking about doing Hercules
and do that exactly?
Yeah.
That was a hit.
But my thing is like do Hercules, but don't do the '90s musical. Like do like a new do an actual the Greek mythology.
That would be awesome.
That would be cool.
Absolutely.
Well, they'd have to get Ridley Scott to direct that.
Oh gosh, that would be terrible.
Back in the day, I think Ridley Scott would have made an epic.
Who
Hercules
directed
movie.
Troy? Who did that?
I have no clue. I'd have to look that up.
Because as far as the Iliad goes and Homer stuff, I thought Troy
wasn't
on par.
bad.
I thought it was pretty good.
That was decent. Yeah, I was okay with Troy.
Curious to know who
Wasn't
did that.
Brad Pitt was in that?
Yes,
wasn't
it was.
Yeah.
But like, no, I agree with Sean. As far as like a lot of the movies, like that actually was okay. Oh, come on.
I didn't mean to get us completely off topic.
No. I was just looking for the director. I apologize. Directed by Wolfgang Peterson. I don't know who that is.
There you go.
I know the name. I just don't.
Yeah, he did Air Force One and The Perfect Storm.
The Perfect Storm?
Yes.
That was on.
Okay.
The rhythm of my
Oh,
heart.
wow. He did Never Ending Story. The
What?
guy that did
What?
Never Ending Story made Troy. That's
Really?
awesome.
Okay.
Rockbiter.
He was nominated for 2 Academy Awards for the World War II submarine warfare film Das Boot.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, that is a good movie. Then he did Never Ending Story, Enemy Mine, In the Line of Fire,
Enemy Mine with
Outbreak,
Dennis Quaid. That was a
Air
good
Force
one, too.
One, The Perfect Storm, Troy, and Poseidon. So he's
Poseidon sucked.
Yeah, remake.
He's got
was
a- yeah, the
awful.
remake was
It
he's
terrible.
got a mix. He's got a mixed bag, but
Yeah.
he does have some good movies in here.
Okay. Well, that's completely off topic. But
Yeah, I know, but I
still,
wanted
like,
to know.
Some of these movies, when they take this and make it a little bit accurate historically, even though Greek mythology isn't necessarily true history.
Yeah, but
it is a
still.
part of history. And yeah, I would love to see a true to the mythology Hercules.
Yeah, that'd be
great.
awesome. So
Gosh.
Disney, you could do some
You could do
really
that.
interesting thing, but see, that's the thing is they'd have to take a chance on that. Whereas just remaking the cartoons is a safe bet. It's like it may not be good, but it's going to earn them money because people are going to go see it based off the name alone.
Yeah. Now a remake that's coming up that's not anything to do with Disney though is Ghostbusters, and that one's got me excited.
That looks really
It's
good.
not like some of these Disney remakes. Yes, they've been flops. Well, not flops financially, but flops critically, and most audience comes away saying, well, the cartoon was better.
Yeah.
But some remakes are I think maybe decent.
Well, with this, because I think more of a reboot than because it is supposed to take place after Ghostbusters 1 and 2, within that world.
But when you subtract the all-female cast of Saturday Night Live comedians, and
Well,
this
that's the difference.
stupid story, and
'Cause
actually put some love into it as a
if
fan.
you actually, well, I mean, it's directed by Jason Reitman.
Jason Reitman,
who's
yeah,
Ivan
Ivan
Reitman's
Reitman's
son. But that's the difference when you put in heart, like you said, like, and you know that you're a fan of it and you want it to live up to the originals, as compared to just for the Ghostbusters remake with the women.
Yeah.
That wasn't any good, and that has nothing to. People are like, "Well, you didn't like it because it was all women." It has nothing to do with the women.
It was a
terrible
crappy movie.
I don't care that it had all women. It just felt like a cash grab, which is what it was.
Yep.
It's like if you're going to do something, do it justice.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
We've hammered that point home a lot
Boom.
of times on this.
We
show.
have.
Into the ground.
And
Yeah.
it's so true, though.
It
Absolutely
is, though.
True.
I mean,
but you know what? If you're out there and you have your own opinion, you know what you could do?
what
what-
can we do?
You could email us at rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com.
Is that
is
a
that-
fact?
Really?
That's
is that,
true.
Is that the same thing that it says on my screen?
Yes, it is.
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
You got it. Right there in the bottom corner of your screen.
Huh.
That is
wow.
I believe he
Fantastic.
said rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com.
Yeah, Keith,
Wow.
right there now on your bottom. of
Right
your
here?
screen.
Whoa.
That's it.
You
Okay.
point at it like that, it makes us look professional. That's all I'm saying.
Oh my goodness! Come email us. Send us your thoughts,
Come
your opinion.
email us.
email us.
Yes, and even though we know he's not watching, we're going to go ahead and just give another shout out to one of our own, Neil Singleton and Megan Singleton.
He's
I
not a
noticed- listen,
Singleton anymore.
Megan, you need to change
I mean,
your
he
name on
is,
Facebook.
but-
I'm just saying. You can't. You're not Megan
Oh,
Landers anymore.
Oh my
You're Megan
goodness.
Singleton. Get it changed before you get home.
Megan.
And you need to
Make
change
it
that,
Facebook
change
official.
that status to married because it still says dating or engaged. I think is what it
Oh man.
says. So I'm just saying,
What does Neil say? Is he
social
married?
media time we live in, you need to fix it.
I was gonna say. I mean, from back in the MySpace days, everybody was concerned about that relationship status.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You
You
had
had
to
to
make
have
sure.
it
Yeah.
right. I'm
Gotta
just
get
saying.
it changed. Been seeing pictures of them in the Swiss Alps and all this
I gotta
stuff. It's
check
great.
this out.
So
Oh, he's checking Neil
we
right
got
now.
probably a few more minutes.
Nils only says he's engaged too. Y'all are slow on the update,
Yeah, they need
man.
to fix
you gotta
that,
fix
man.
that.
I was like married that day.
Yeah.
I like as
You
soon
had
as-
it ready.
Well, when I finished walking down the aisle, I got my phone out and changed it right then.
Wow.
I was like, before we
That's
even
commitment.
go to
That
the
is
reception, I'm
commitment.
Like you
doing
say,
this.
I do.
I
And
think
boom,
that one of
we're
my wedding
married.
photos is actually me changing my
Changing it.
status.
Oh man.
I haven't seen that.
That's a
photo.
lie.
He stood in front of the precinct and
That's
said,
a lie.
"Hold up, Padre.
Hold on a
I gotta
second.
check."
Padre?
Wow,
No,
yeah.
no. We did it. We did it in a Baptist church
Yeah.
with a Baptist preacher.
All right.
Let's take a few minutes to talk about Boston. We got a few extra minutes.
That's
We
true.
do.
Let's do.
We had a
because
good,
we had a great
we had a
trip.
great
We
trip.
did not live stream like we promised we would.
No.
Well, that's probably because we were in a cigar lounge.
We,
and just
we were
enjoying
getting
it.
a little,
We
uh,
just let it soak in.
Yeah.
We were
Sorry,
going
guys.
to. We went to a cigar lounge, which me and Brandon had discussed before on the podcast.
Mhm.
We were going to live stream down there, but one, it was really dark. We didn't think anybody could see anything, and two, once those cigars kicked in,
We were feeling
just,
good. We were
Yes.
mellowed out, is all I can say.
I love Boston. I love going and seeing the sights. I love seeing Neil.
feeding the squirrels.
Feeding the squirrels. I
That
did
was
love
great.
feeding the squirrels.
Yes.
I had a sea of like 8 or 9 squirrels surrounding me as I was feeding them at
We
Boston
should,
Commons.
we might
so
post that video. On
Yeah,
the
we
Red
could
Moon
post
page.
that one. That was a
we
good
should
one.
post that. Yeah, post it on there so everybody
Maybe I
can
can
see me.
Photoshop a little Red Moon shirt on a
Feed
squirrel.
the squirrels.
That was great. but even with all of that, man, that
Cigar
lounge was
is
fantastic.
just, it's something that we, because of the stupid smoking ban here in Louisville,
Yep.
we can't have a cigar lounge like that, and it ticks me off because it's like I would love to just have a place to just go and relax like that.
They have one over in Indiana, but
Yeah, it's
there's no
Indiana.
way it's as cool as this place.
No,
I mean, this place was underground. It was like a freaking cellar.
it was like
It
a
was dark. and-
1930s.
I mean,
like,
yeah, it
man.
was like stepping back in time.
It was.
It was
great.
fantastic. But we got our friend married and had a good time
we did.
doing
he,
so.
He got
and-
married.
Yeah.
I would say the
It was
only
a
down point
gorgeous
was the
wedding.
Airbnb. That was it.
Yeah.
Everything
For
else
me
was
and Brandon,
fantastic.
Sean had a good one.
That's a
Yeah.
story time segment.
That
right
is.
there.
That'll be
Story
next
time
week.
But yeah, some
and we
interesting
will
stuff.
share.
You share.
Yes, absolutely. But no, I mean, yeah, I loved it. I mean, second time in Boston, and it was still awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely love to go back when we don't have to do all these wedding things and just be able to enjoy.
Yeah,
you
Neil.
know.
Dang.
Yeah.
You just like ruined it for
You
us.
could,
all
we
this
could have had a
wedding
great
stuff.
trip, but just
Yeah.
all
No,
day
there's
Friday
just-
and
there's
Saturday.
There's a lot of stuff to see that you
There
just
is.
can't fit it all
And when we have
into.
more money, because when you don't have money in
Yeah.
Boston, it kind of
Yeah.
limits what you can
say
So
do.
there's
the
stuff-
Northeaster's a little expensive.
Some of the
just
stuff's
saying.
expensive. Yeah, it's not like when you go to DC and everything's free.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
all the museums and stuff are free, and then you go here and it's like $30 a person to see where tea was dumped in the water, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah,
"Ah,
plus-
maybe I'll just read the Cliff Notes.
Yep.
Plus, the restaurants up there aren't cheap, and I think that for what you get,
Oh, they're
it's
good.
nice, it's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, you get what you pay
But
for.
it's not cheap. I mean, even McDonald's was like 50 cents to 70 cents more
Yeah.
expensive than.
Yeah.
I was like, man. Of course, I
Yeah.
get it. Higher
They had
cost
a
of living.
$1 menu. It was
Gotta
just
pay the tax.
It was just a hamburger.
That's what Kevin
though.
Bacon
Yeah, they
says.
didn't even get the
in,
cheese.
The
uh,
hamburger
you
was
get no
$1.
cheese
City on a
It's like
Hill, his
eight-
show, he's like, you got to pay the tax.
Yeah, yeah.
This must be a Boston thing. I don't know. You got to pay the tax.
Well,
You got to
I mean,
pay the tax.
Their minimum wage is higher than ours too, though. I mean,
Yeah.
the cost of living up there is just
Just
higher.
skyrocket.
So.
Yeah. Okay.
Fantastic.
But lovely times. Lovely
Lovely
times.
Maybe we'll
Good
share a
job.
little bit more next week on our show.
think we
Story
will.
time
Maybe.
about Boston.
We'll talk all about Deborah.
Oh gosh,
Debbie?
yes we will.
Debbie.
But until next time, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
Oh God, you caught me at a bad time. Keith Cheatham.
are you sneezing?
I think he
I
was
had
mouth
something
farting.
weird going on. Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.